Matsya Sampada Jagruta Abhiyan. So this is basically an awareness campaign for nationwide outreach. So another problem for the food processing industry is availability of credit. Third problem is irregularities in the supply chain or lack of appropriate backward and forward integration. That means there is one newly launched scheme. This is under Ministry of Heavy Industries. Then most of the MSMEs lack a digital presence. So they don't have digital presence. So that is also a problem when they lack digital presence. PM Vishwakarma scheme, coming up with modern industrial infrastructure facility for entire value chain to reduce the logistic cost.
Most UPSC aspirants fail before they even begin. Here's how you avoid that. The mistake: they jump into preparation without a roadmap, a mentor, or a clear strategy. At Vision IS Delhi, we help you build your UPSC foundation the right way from day one. Get structured coverage, prelims, main CSAT and essay, all broken down step by step so nothing feels overwhelming. Smart current affairs with PT 365 and Mains 365. You focus only on what truly matters, no fluff. Personal mentorship, real one-on-one guidance to help you fix weak areas and boost what you're already good at. Test plus feedback loop, regular tests with detailed feedback so you never lose track of your progress. Don't start blind, start smart with Vision IS Delhi. This is where your serious UPSC journey begins.
UPSC preparation is not just about reading books or watching online lectures. It requires personal guidance, real discussions, and structured practice. This is where offline mentoring makes all the difference. Unlike online learning, where doubts often remain unresolved, offline mentoring offers direct interaction, real-time feedback, and an environment of discipline and competition. One-to-one sessions help students get tailored advice, strategy corrections, and focused improvement. Every aspirant has different strengths and weaknesses. Personal mentoring helps address them effectively. Ground discussions sharpen analytical thinking and help students develop a multi-dimensional perspective on issues crucial for prelims, mains, and interview. Elocution sessions help in personality development, clarity of thought, and confidence, essential for UPSC interviews. Test writing is the most crucial part of UPSC preparation. It helps in time management, structuring answers, and improving content quality. Offline mentoring is not just about teaching. It's about grooming future officers with the right guidance, discipline, and confidence. So if you are preparing for UPSC, make sure you have the right mentor by your side.
Good evening, everybody. So this is the continuation of the schemes which we have done earlier. So we have discussed Ministry of Agriculture, Finance, and several other ministries. So there are few other ministries which we have to cover. So we'll try to cover them today. Okay, the first ministry which we will start with is Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. So this is basically Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. So as we have discussed earlier, what are the things which we are going to look into when we are talking about any scheme? So that we have already checked it. Like one is the objectives of the scheme, then the type of the scheme, central sector, centrally sponsored. Another important aspect we have to check is any recent changes in the budget or any change in ministry, etc. That scheme becomes important. So these things we have checked in the first class. So now what we will try to do is, we'll try to focus on the same areas with respect to these schemes. So when we look at this scheme, Matsya Sampada Yojana, so it is basically the development of 100 climate resilient coastal fishermen villages under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. So here ministry announced the development of 100 climate resilient coastal fishermen villages under this scheme. So first of all, when we try to understand this scheme is a combination of central sector as well as centrally sponsored. It's a combination of central sector as well as centrally sponsored. And what is the main purpose of the scheme is to bring blue revolution through sustainable and responsible development of fisheries sector in India. Bring blue revolution through sustainable and responsible development of fisheries sector in India. This is the purpose. And it's a combination of central sector and centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, so few important things which we have to remember with respect to this scheme is, one is to enhance the fish production to 21 million metric tons. Okay, so an increase of contribution of gross value GVA of fisheries sector to agriculture GVA to 9%. So contribution of fisheries to agriculture GVA. So Ashok Dalwai committee also recommended, if we want to double farmers' income, we have to first increase the growth of allied sectors. Allied sectors have a more important role in terms of doubling farmers' income. Okay, so and this scheme helps that the focus of the scheme is basically to increase the contribution of fisheries sector to agriculture GVA. Double export earnings to about 1 lakh crore. Doubling the export earnings to about 1 lakh crore. Reduction of post-harvest losses to about 10%. Currently it is around 25%. That is also one of the aim of the scheme. And doubling of incomes of fisheries and fish farmer. So these are the aims of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Okay. Now, few important things here. The investment, 42% of the fisheries infrastructure, okay, 42% is spent for fisheries infrastructure under this scheme. So this number is important in the sense that maximum chunk you're pushing in for building the fisheries infrastructure. Okay, there are other small schemes here. Matsya Sampada Jagruta Abhiyan. So this is basically an awareness campaign for nationwide outreach. Awareness campaign for nationwide outreach. Okay, so there is one more scheme. This is Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Saha Yojana. So this is another scheme under the same ministry. But this scheme is a sub-scheme, we can call it as, under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. It's a sub-scheme. Now, what is the main focus of this scheme? This is basically purely a central sector scheme. And the investment is around 6,000 crore. Okay. And the aim is to help MSMEs operating in the fisheries sector. This is the main aim. So that is important. So when we look at the scheme, Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Saha Yojana, this is for under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, and this is mainly for helping MSMEs operating in the fisheries sector. MSMEs operating in the fisheries sector, and it is implemented as a central sector scheme. Central sector scheme. One more important observation here. There is a funding allocation, 50% public finance funding, including the World Bank and AFD, external financing, and 50% would be private sector leverage. So there is a combination of private sector leverage as well as 50% is the public finance. And this is primarily to help MSMEs operating in the fisheries sector. Now, before we start the food processing related schemes, so for understanding schemes related to food processing, first of all, we need to know what are the main problems in the food processing industry. So once we understand the main problems in the food processing industry, then we can identify which scheme will solve which problem. So in general, what are the main problems of food processing industries? One is most of our food processing industry is operating in the unorganized sectors. That means there should be some schemes like the Udyam portal, which bring in into the organized segment. Okay, so unorganized food processing industries should be able to raise credit. So another problem for the food processing industry is availability of credit. Third problem is irregularities in the supply chain or lack of appropriate backward and forward integration. That means there should be schemes which will help in building proper backward and forward integration. So that means strengthening the supply chain. Along with strengthening the supply chain, should be a focus on infrastructure development. Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. So where there is a primary focus on infrastructure, cold storage facilities. So without infrastructure development, even building appropriate supply chains and backward and forward integration also will become difficult. Another problem is lack of entrepreneurship. That is, though government is giving a lot of support systems, risk is not taken by the youngsters in terms of this food processing industry. Another one is going ahead with tertiary processing. In India, primary processing is more, but obviously profits will always be in tertiary processing. So therefore, bringing in technology as well as focusing on complex processing, that is tertiary processing. Okay. Then what are other problems? Okay. Issues related to branding and advertisement. And they don't have economies of scale. Economies of scale, then you will be less price competitive with the international market. So our products will not be able to compete in the international market. Then another problem can be adhering to the non-tariff barriers of the other countries, especially currently this becomes very important in the wake of tariffs laid by Trump. Okay, so non-tariff barriers. And then Food Safety Standards Authority of India. That means here our food safety standards should be in line with the international standards. That is when you will be able to export more. Okay, and for that, basically our food safety standards should be in line with the international standards. So that is something which we have to understand. Okay, so one is the unorganized sector, credit, supply chain management, infrastructure problems, entrepreneurship, technology, these are the problems. Now, once we know the problems, for credit, what are the schemes? For infrastructure, what are the schemes? Okay, so here, so one is we have the production linked incentive scheme for food processing industries. So government has come up with production linked incentive scheme for food processing. So to support global food manufacturing champions, this is the main objective. And it has come up with something like an outlay of 10,900 crores from 21-22 to 26-27. And you want to build global food manufacturing champions. This is the main objective of this particular scheme. Okay, so here what we should understand is, here the main objective here is to support food manufacturing entities with stipulated minimum sales and willing to make minimum stipulated investment for expansion of processing capacity. So along with helping them in branding, not only with respect to production, but helping them with respect to branding, then only you will be able to create global food manufacturing champions. At the same time, you will be able to increase the exports to other countries. Okay, so though we have some competitive advantage with respect to the production capabilities, there are challenges, especially for the smaller food processing industries. So these small food processing industries would be the focus here. Then, since most of the food processing industries are operating in the unorganized sector, so there is one more scheme here, that is the PM formalization of micro food processing enterprises. So there are a lot of issues with respect to smaller food processing industries. So smaller food processing industries, technology related issues will be there, economies of scale related issues will be there, adhering to the non-tariff barrier related issues will be there. So, and moreover, you have to formalize them. And to formalize them, you have this scheme called PM Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprises scheme. So this scheme is basically done in combination with the states. It's a centrally sponsored scheme. Under this scheme, you have several other programs like the One District, One Product, support for common infrastructure, support for common industry. One district, one product you're identifying in a district and which will be supported by the government. Okay, so that you can export. Okay, then support to self-help groups, FPOs, cooperatives, and individual micro food processing enterprises. Along with that, advertising, marketing, and branding related aspects will also be taken care of as part of the PM formalization of micro food processing enterprises. Okay, so that means these are the problems that have to be addressed. Now, one of the most important scheme, which is there in our material also, is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. Now, this scheme focuses on multiple aspects. It's like a 360-degree approach for the food processing industry. So, here, Center informed that almost like 1,600 projects valued around 32,000 crores were sanctioned under the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. So, what is the purpose here? Okay, so what is the main purpose? One is it's a central sector scheme. Central sector scheme and the overall development of the food processing sector in India. So, that is the focus of the overall development of food processing sector. What is the potential benefit? Doubling farmers' income, creating employment, reducing wastage of agricultural produce. Okay. Now, objectives: creation of modern infrastructure with efficient supply chain management from farm gate to retail outlet. That means one important focus is to strengthen the supply chain. Okay, and increasing employment opportunities and better returns for farmers. So this is another important objective here. And reducing wastage of agricultural produce by development of infrastructure, cold storage facilities, etc. And this particular scheme also works on human capital. Okay, so enhancing the skills, etc. Okay, so what are the main salient features when we look at this particular scheme? One is integrated cold chain and value addition infrastructure, which is lacking, which we have discussed, that lack of infrastructure, lack of backward and forward linkages. So that is all because lack of integrated cold chain and value addition infrastructure. Okay, then creation of infrastructure for agro processing clusters. Creation of infrastructure for agro processing clusters. Okay, so you're building agro clusters and the focus is on infrastructure. Then, food safety and quality assurance infrastructure. Why? Because food testing labs and global certifications are important if we want to increase our exports. So that is also taken care of here. Another aspect which is taken care of is the human resource and institutions. That is the research and development with respect to 100 R&D projects have been sanctioned. Okay, then Operation Greens. Okay, so these are the main focuses when it comes to Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. It's an important scheme. Okay. There is one newly launched scheme. This is under Ministry of Heavy Industries. Okay, so this is PM E-Drive scheme. PM E-Drive. This is basically PM Electric Drive Revolution in Innovative Vehicle Enhancement. Okay, so what is the main purpose? To easier EV adoption, electric vehicle adoption, and building charging infrastructure, because without charging infrastructure, building EV ecosystem is very difficult, and enhancing EV manufacturing ecosystem. So it's a central sector scheme, and this scheme is available for two-wheelers, three-wheelers, ambulances, e-trucks, as well as e-buses. Now, what is the main objective is faster adoption of EV vehicles. Faster adoption of EV vehicles by setting up charging infrastructure and developing EV manufacturing ecosystem across India. So developing EV manufacturing ecosystem across India is the main important objective of this particular scheme. Okay, so components, one is administrative support, then grants for capital assets, funding for electric buses, establishment of charging infrastructure, subsidies, demand incentives for EVs. There are demand incentives for EVs like two-wheelers, three-wheelers, ambulances, etc. Okay, so demand incentives, what they will do? They will reduce the cost of EVs for consumers at the point of purchase. Okay, so what are the eligible categories here? Eligible categories are, we have two-wheelers, privately owned as well as commercial, three-wheelers, electric ambulances, electric trucks, electric buses, charging infrastructure, and testing agency upgrades, all these. Okay. Now, this is another important ministry, that is micro, small and medium enterprises. Now, why is it important? Because it is one of the growth engines in our budget. So there were different growth engines mentioned in the budget. One was agriculture. Another growth engine that was mentioned is MSME. Now, same logic applies for MSME as we have applied for food processing. We should know what are the problems in the MSME. Second is, in the budget, government has come up with increased the investment limits and the turnover limits by 2.5 times. That means there is a change in the budget with respect to how do we define micro, small and medium enterprises. And that is the reason it becomes important. So some changes in the budget, that particular scheme related to that becomes important. So here, if you see, revision in the classification criteria for micro, small and medium enterprises. So here we look at types of enterprises: micro, small and medium. Okay. So changes in investment limit, rupees 1 crore to 2.5 crore, they have increased it. So that is the investment limit increase. And the turnover limit from 5 crores to 10 crore. 5 crore to 10 crore is the turnover limit increase. Then for small enterprises, it has been increased from 10 crore to 25 crore. And for turnover limit has been increased from 50 crore to 100 crore. And medium enterprises, rupees 50 crore to 125 crore investment, turnover from 250 crore to 500 crore. So this is the change, one important change that they have brought in. And that is important. Okay. And there were several other initiatives which were announced in the budget. And for that reason also this ministry becomes important for the exam. So what are the several other initiatives? One is the credit guarantee cover for MSME, micro and small enterprises, has been enhanced from 5 crore to 10 crore. So this data point is important for prelims. Okay, so then 10 lakh customized credit cards with 5 lakh limit for micro enterprises are registered on the Udyam portal to be introduced. Okay. Then export promotion mission to facilitate easy access to export credit and support MSMEs to tackle non-tariff measures in the overseas markets. Okay, there is a new fund of funds program where 10,000 crores to be set up for startups. Now these are some aspects which are mentioned in the budget. Now based on the problems in MSME, we should be knowing what are the different themes that they have brought in. For example, what are the main problems for MSME? One is most of these MSMEs are operating in the unorganized sector. Okay. Second is MSMEs raising credit is also a problem for MSME. Then MSMEs are facing liquidation issues. That means if there is a problem, okay, insolvency procedures are taking a very long period for the MSME, that becomes a problem. MSMEs have this delayed payments, and that delayed payment is also a challenge. That means the companies have to make immediate payments. So the payment delayed will reduce the cash flows into the MSME. So that is also a problem for MSMEs. Then most of the MSMEs lack a digital presence. So they don't have digital presence. So that is also a problem. When they lack digital presence, building brands becomes difficult. Okay, so that is also a problem for micro, small and medium enterprises. Okay, another problem is branding related aspects and advertisement related aspects are also a problem for most of the micro, small and medium enterprises. And MSMEs working in unorganized sector, if they want benefits from the government, then they have to become organized or register under the respective portals of the government. So all these are very important for MSMEs. Now, why government started focusing on MSMEs? Because one is MSMEs contribute around 45% of our exports. Another important aspect is MSMEs also MSMEs have almost like 60% of MSMEs have rural base. So that means for rural development, MSMEs play an important role. And MSMEs will also reduce the rural-urban migration. That is, if you're building these MSMEs well in the rural areas, then migration from rural to urban areas will also decrease. So that is also a benefit for MSME. So rural-urban migration, if your MSMEs are developed, you can reduce the rural-urban migration. And in the urban areas, they're ending up living in subhuman conditions, etc. Okay, so that is also a benefit for benefit of micro, small, and medium enterprises. One more important benefit of MSMEs is most of the MSMEs have women owners. 20% of MSME owners are women owners. So it brings in inclusiveness aspect, inclusive growth aspect here, an aspect of social justice here. And then tribals, etc. So tribal MSMEs are all, and indigenous products, they were able to export. And this is also an important aspect from the social aspect for MSMEs. MSMEs contribute to a major chunk of my manufacturing GDP and almost like 45% of our exports. And that is the reason MSMEs become critical. Okay, so now comes in like, since MSMEs are so important, then the schemes related to MSMEs also become important. Now, one scheme here which we are talking about is PM Vishwakarma scheme. Of course, this scheme is a support system given to the traditional artisans and craftsmen. Okay, so that is the main aspect here. Rural and urban areas with a focus on saturating districts. Okay, so it is a central sector scheme. So what is the main objective? Recognition of artisans and craft people as Vishwakarmas. Artisans and craft people as Vishwakarmas, and to provide skill upgradation for them. So that is the main focus. So main objective of the scheme. Okay, it also helps in you're creating a platform for brand promotion and market linkages. Okay, and also to provide incentives for digital transactions. So these are the main objectives of this program. Okay, so this program will be co-jointly implemented by Ministry of MSME, Skill Development, as well as Ministry of Finance. Ministry of MSME, Skill Development, and Ministry of Finance. So who are eligible here? Artisans working in traditional family trades in an unorganized sector. That is basically we're talking about self-employed. And one member per family is eligible for these support systems. And there are some exclusions also. That is government employees or families of government employees and those who took similar loans in the last 5 years, they are excluded from this particular scheme. Okay, so what is the main benefits of this Vishwakarma scheme? One is recognition of PM Vishwakarma certificate is given and an ID card. Then skill training. So there is advanced skill training basic with 500 daily stipend. Then toolkit incentives as well as loans. Okay, 3 lakhs, 1 lakh for 18 months, 2 lakhs for 30 months. And incentives are also given for digital transactions. There is digital transaction incentive, marketing support, as well as loan. So concessional 5% interest rate, up to 8% interest subvention. All this is also provided under the PM Vishwakarma scheme. So these are the important areas in the Vishwakarma scheme which we have to focus. Another one is the basic classification of MSME, classification of micro, small, and medium enterprises. So why? Because this is important is because of the reason that it has been changed in the budget. Okay, so in the budget, this is about the budget, basically some important aspects which we can see here. Fund of funds for startups, a new fund of funds with expanded scope and fresh contribution of 10,000 crores to be set up. Okay, and then enhance credit availability with guarantee cover. So if you see the credit guarantee cover for micro and small enterprises, startups, exporter MSMEs. So if you see MSEs here, the credit guarantee cover, revised credit guarantee cover is up to 10 crores. Okay, so this is the change which they have brought in. Okay, credit cards for micro enterprises which are registered under the Udyam portal. Only when you register, that is, basically micro enterprises which are unorganized have to be registered under the Udyam portal to get the benefits or the support systems from the government. So that means you're becoming more organized. Okay, and those micro enterprises which are registered on the Udyam portal will be getting customized credit card with a 5 lakh limit. Okay, let's go to the next scheme, that is under the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Okay, so Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. This scheme basically, it is a voluntary vehicle fleet modernization scheme. Voluntary vehicle fleet modernization scheme. Okay, so it's a newly launched scheme. So what is the main purpose of the scheme? So basically to slowly phase out unfit polluting vehicles through a proper registered vehicle scrapping facility, and also come up with automated testing solutions where you can test the vehicles and the certificates are given. And if they are not in line with the standards, then scrapping of vehicles has to be done. Those unfit vehicles. This is all to focus on phasing out unfit polluting vehicles. Okay, so what is the target? Voluntary scrapping of 1 crore unfit vehicles, strictly based on fitness irrespective of vehicle age. So strictly based on fitness irrespective of vehicle age. That is important. So it is part of our objective of cutting emissions by 15 to 20%. Okay, so and also boost road safety, and also you are coming up with giving incentives to buy new vehicles. So it will also increase the auto sector sales. Okay, and also leads to fuel efficiency. Okay, so what are the main salient features here? One is automated testing stations. So it is to minimize the manual testing, and therefore it will be done at a faster pace. Okay, and private investment is also encouraged while for setting up these automatic testing stations through PPP, that is public private partnerships. This is one important aspect here. Then certificate of deposit. Vehicles that fail the fitness test will be scrapped and owners will receive a scrapping certificate. And this scrapping certificate as proof which can be used to avail discounts on purchasing new vehicles. So this is the main aspect here. One is you're going to get a certificate and that will be used as used for getting some discount while you're purchasing the new vehicle. And then registered vehicle scrapping facilities. Technologically advanced and transparent vehicle scrapping facilities will ensure vehicles are scrapped in an environment friendly and a safe manner. That is an important aspect. Okay, so here we look at both are covered. One is the commercial vehicles as well as the private vehicles. Okay, so this is the main theme of this particular scheme. So there is also discount that is given by original equipment manufacturers for buying new vehicles against the vehicle scrapping certificate. Okay.
Preparing for the UPSC Civil Services examination demands a solid grasp of every mains paper. Among them, the optional subject paper plays a crucial role in determining your final rank. A strong command over your optional subject can give you the competitive edge needed for success. To help you master this crucial aspect, Vision IAS presents the Optional Classroom Program 2026, available in live online and classroom offline modes for Geography, Sociology, Political Science and International Relations. Batch starts from 20th June, 2 p.m.
Stop wasting hours on scattered current affairs preparation. Vision Eye's Digital Current Affairs Premium gives you AI-powered answers expert feedback, and structured revision all in one place. Instant AI answers, no more endless searches, get precise syllabus aligned insights in seconds. Daily answer writing, expert feedback to sharpen your mains responses. Quick notes and highlights, organize, revise, and retain key concepts effortlessly. Plus, free features. Daily news summaries from the Hindu and Indian Express, quizzes and MCQs to test your progress, and downloadable PDFs for seamless revision. Study smarter, not harder. To know more, visit our website now.
Okay. So one scheme under the Ministry of Textiles. So under the Ministry of Textiles, one important scheme is Pradhan Mantri Mega Integrated Textile. This is PM MITRA. Okay, so the expectation is that the PM MITRA program is going to create 21 lakh jobs. So now textiles is in news in the recent past because of higher tariffs on Vietnam. So everybody is expecting that since Vietnam there is 46%, there was 46%, of course now it is same for everybody because of the 3-month pause. But otherwise India should be able to export more textiles to countries like US because of the tariff policies. So now there is technical textiles also in news. So these are the areas which are becoming more important. So technical textiles are not known for their aesthetic value. They are known for their use, basically. So these things are in news right now. Now moving forward, with respect to this PM MITRA, what is the main purpose of the scheme? So one is to attract investment and to boost employment. That is the main objective, and it's a central sector scheme. Central sector scheme. Objective is to promote sustainable industrialization and foster innovation. Coming up with modern industrial infrastructure facility for entire value chain to reduce the logistic cost. So this is the main objective of the scheme. So one is integrated value chain. Along with that, you're focusing on coming up with an SPV, special purpose vehicle, to set up the park. Okay, and jointly owned by center as well as state to oversee the project. Okay, so one is the main facilities at the park is one is the support infrastructure along with the core infrastructure. So there is also development capital support that is given. For example, 30% of the project cost, up to 500 crores for greenfield and up to 200 crores for brownfield. And the park would be developed through PPP mode, public-private partnership mode. Okay, so here earlier, as we have discussed the important schemes based on President Madam's speech. Okay, so there are certain schemes and other initiatives at the back. So Madam was talking about this program, which is Clean Plant Program. This is under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Okay. So what is the main objective here? So two things. One is the implementation of this program is done by the National Horticulture Board in association with Indian Council of Agricultural Research. And it is also supported by the Asian Development Bank. This is one important aspect. Now, what is the main focus? Why is this scheme there, basically? Why are we discussing this? India and Asian Development Bank have signed a 98 million loan deal to develop a regulatory framework for clean plant program implementation in the horticulture sector. Okay. So, what are the main focus here? Providing farmers with access to virus-free, high-quality planting material. That is the main focus. The main focus is to provide farmers with access to virus-free, high-quality planting material. So what are the main benefits? It will enhance the crop yields, increase income opportunities, and ensure sustainable agricultural practices. What are the key features here? One is clean plant centers. So developing clean plant centers across India for fruits like grapes, apples, mangoes, etc. High technology labs to produce virus-free planting material. This is one aspect. Second component is certification and legal framework. Robust certification system has to be brought in. This is to increase efficiency. Then enhanced infrastructure, support for large-scale nurseries to develop infrastructure for efficient multiplication of material. Implementation is done by the National Horticulture Board in association with Indian Council for Agriculture Research. Okay, of course, this is not in this ministry, but this was also mentioned by Madam in the speech, Lakpati Didi initiative. Okay, it falls under the Ministry of Rural Development. Then under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, this program was also mentioned in the Madam's speech. So this is also important. This is Namo Drone Didi scheme. Now it falls under which ministry? Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So what is the main purpose? To empower women-led self-help groups by equipping them with drone technology to provide agricultural services. This is the main objective, so that the women self-help groups can lend these drones. Okay, so here to provide drones to 15,000 self-selected women SHGs for providing rental services to farmers for agricultural purposes. One is efficiency of farming will increase, and also livelihood is also getting created. And it's a central sector scheme. Okay, central sector scheme. So what is the main aspect, main features of this? One is subsidy given to the women self-help groups. 80% of the drone cost as subsidy is given. 80% of the drone cost as subsidy up to 8 lakhs. Okay, and the remaining amount also, the loan facility from Agriculture Infrastructure Fund for remaining cost of the drone. Agriculture Infrastructure Fund we have discussed in the previous class. Okay, then easy loan availability is there. Drone pilot training as part of the drone package. Chance to earn additional 1 lakh per annum through drone. Renting of drone spray services to farmers through women self-help groups. This is the objective. So two things will happen here. One is the livelihood, additional income for the women SHGs, and second is increasing the efficiency with respect to agriculture. Okay. There is one newly launched initiative which we will discuss, which is under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. That is about Bhaskar initiative. So what is this Bhaskar initiative? It is Bharat Startup Knowledge Access Registry. So this is also important for the exam. So who are the beneficiaries here? All the startup owners, investors, service providers and government bodies, they are available at a single digital registry. Okay, so what is the main purpose? One-stop digital platform where diverse startup ecosystem stakeholders can seamlessly collaborate, catalyzing growth of startup ecosystem across India. So this is the main objective. Okay, and it will facilitate easier interaction, enhance searchability, and allow for efficient discovery of relevant opportunities and partnerships. Okay, so Bhaskar Digital Registry launched under the Startup India program. So what is the main focus? It is launched by DPIIT. Okay, it is mainly focusing on networking and collaboration. That is, it connects startups, investors, and mentors on a single platform. And it also provides, it acts like a resource hub where instant access to critical tools and knowledge is there. And it is the largest digital registry, centralized platform for all ecosystem stakeholders. Okay, so that is the main benefit here. So this scheme also, Bhaskar initiative was also mentioned in the madam's speech, so that also becomes important. So one more last scheme under Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. So this is basically credit guarantee scheme for ENWR, based pledging financing. Here, this is basically, here, so farmers, when they go and put their grain in the warehouse, there is something like the negotiable warehouse receipt that is generated. Now, this negotiable warehouse receipt should help the farmer. These receipts can be traded in the market. These receipts should help the farmer to get credit from the market, etc. This is something which we know. So here, credit guarantee scheme for negotiable warehouse receipt based pledge financing. This is the program. So what is the main purpose? Provide credit guarantees to eligible lending institutions. Credit guarantees to eligible lending institutions for pledging finance against e-negotiable warehouse receipts. Pledging finance against e-negotiable warehouse receipts. So what is this e-negotiable warehouse receipt? It's a digital document that represents a warehouse stored goods. Okay, so once the farmer goes and puts the produce in the warehouse, this negotiable warehouse receipt is going to be generated. It is used for trading, financing, as well as settlement. It is issued by registered warehouses, regulated and governed by Warehouse Development and Regulatory Authority. So it is regulated and governed by Warehouse Development and Regulatory Authority. So under this, loans can be taken by keeping only the goods in negotiable warehouse receipts can be pledged. So here basically only the goods in the ENWR, negotiable warehouse receipts, can be pledged. No additional collateral is required. So this scheme is also important from the agriculture aspect. Okay, so these are the remaining schemes, and I think most of the schemes we have completed in the first video. So these are basically the important areas, and agriculture is one theme and MSME is one theme which are very important for the prelims. So that's all. Thank you.